Thank you to the organizers for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Thanks to all the other speakers. Many of them I know well, I admire greatly. It's a great group to be part of. I'd like to say a few words about the topic of political finance, and then especially the area of the rapid increase of ICT innovations, because the Albanian CEC and many other oversight organizations are facing a challenge of monitoring all the traditional forms of political finance, while simultaneously also introducing all these innovations of monitoring political finance. And I'll tell you a little bit about what those innovations are that are approaching Albania very rapidly. But to do that, I'll have to start with saying a little bit about Albania's state of democracy. And at International IDEA, we measure every year for 165 countries in the world how their democracy fares. And we do that in a large number of areas of democracy. Albania last year performed relatively well as a mid-range performing democracy, and especially well in the area of clean elections, but poorly in the area of corruption. Poorly in the sense that its score is 40% lower than many other countries, the average for Central and Eastern Europe, and at the bottom of the Western Balkans. So this shows that if we want to do anything on fighting corruption, we have to work on the topic of political finance. And we have to do that especially through the new means that are available to us. And a lot of that has to do with information and communication technologies, ICT, that allow us to invest in transparency of political finance in new ways. That brings both opportunities and risks, right? The risks are that nowadays, and some of you have already mentioned it, campaigning is not only happening offline anymore, but also online through Facebook and Google and all kinds of ways in which political parties are spending money in the online sphere. And that means we have to monitor in the online sphere as well. And that requires new capacities of the CEC and many other actors. Then there's the opportunity, because the ICT means that are now available to us also mean, and some of you refer to it, online reporting systems that make the spending and receiving of money by political parties much more easy to monitor, not just by the formal oversight institutions, but also by watchdogs, and easier for political parties to report on. So we have to invest in both of those, and International IDEA is planning to support in Albania by doing three things. One is to assist the CEC to set up a state-of-the-art online financial disclosure mechanisms using the examples that we see from dozens of countries now within Europe and beyond, right? As far as field as Canada and Australia, we see that these online reporting systems are really working well. Two, by working with political parties to arrange consensus on how do we deal with transparency of online campaigning. It's a new field. Only if political parties are on board will we reach that transparency. And three, by helping to introduce regulations on online campaign spending, right? Again, this wild west of how do we monitor spending online, that's something we have to get to grips with. We'll start that this year and continue next year together with our partner, the Rule of Law Center of Finland, to help ensure transparency of political finance. I'll end with a few recommendations, having now started to work on Albania a little bit. First of all, we have to make sure that whatever introduction of greater monitoring we do in Albania has the support of political parties. Only when they support any new introduction of legal frameworks or monitoring mechanisms do we see a level of success. Two, we have to do so gradually, right? If we do everything at once, then we will fail massively. So we have to pick and choose of where we start and what comes next. Three, we have to make sure that whatever we introduce to monitor political finance better and to especially use ICT measures has the trust of the voter, right? These instruments are traditionally very technical and they can create trust, but as soon as things become too complex, we risk losing the voter. And lastly, we have to make sure that we learn from others. So we make sure that it's not Albania having to reinvent the wheel, but all the many countries across Europe and beyond that have already dealt with this, that those experiences are brought to Albania, and the reverse, that Albania can be a mentor to other countries in the region. I'd like to end by saying we welcome the initiative by Parliament to set up an electoral reform ad hoc committee, and we stand ready to support them and all others working on this in making it happen. Thank you very much.